5, 4, 3, 2.
What makes you say that?
Hello, friends. Welcome to What Makes You Say That. This is episode 9. My name is Brian Williams, and I'm happy to be joined once again by my esteemed colleague and daily jumble solver, Mr. John Kerr. How is it going for you today, John?
Hey, yeah, good day. I did the jumble this morning in less than a minute, I think. So I keeping sharp.
I guess that's a little slow for you. We've got a great episode planned for you today. We'll be catching up with the BH Parent Association and speaking to incoming Vice President of the BHPA, Carrie Lai. We'll also be talking about math learning in junior school with BH Learning Coach Megan, much more. And current debate and public speaking prefect Lindsay Cogan will update us on the Junior National Debate Championships, that and so much more. But the episode doesn't ever really start until we hear that quote.
Well, this might be slightly ironic given the warm-up question. But the quote today, I've been thinking a lot about different things, and this one's actually been on my board before. And the quote for this week is, all things are temporary.
Another head scratcher, lots to think about. A great start to episode 9. So we're 82 days into this now, John. And last week, we heard that you'd been leaving your house. Certainly you have news to share, as you probably have continued to do so. What else is going on?
Well, I've actually started thinking about getting rid of the beard. I entertained that thought. So,
oh my goodness.
I think that's coming because it's 82 days. And I think I have to go out again this afternoon for my second mission, because it's my mom's birthday on the weekend and I need to put her card in the mail. So it'll be 10 minutes of store stuff. But,
that's more than usual for you, right?
Yeah. Yes, quite a bit more. And I've been reading about plagues. That's what I've been doing, and about viruses.
All right, tell us more.
Just change it up. Well, interestingly, people who get infected with flu, apparently, viruses want to live, right? And they want to transmit. So they do stuff. They can change our behavior. And people who, before they're symptomatic with the influenza virus, actually become more sociable. So they're infected and they have 48 hours, I think, I'm not I'm not that guy, but this is my understanding. And they want to go out and socialize before they get the symptoms. And of course, that's when they're really contagious. And then the other thing was about the Black Death. Historians writing in the 14th century about that period wondered if it was going to change human behavior in some huge way, right? I mean, almost half of Europe dies, and people are saying, well, what will... And it didn't. In fact, it led to even more reckless behavior, because it's kind of like survivor's guilt. And so, I mean, I said all things are temporary for a reason, but that's it. How about you? What's new for you?
Yeah, you're starting to explore the Netflix shows. You're wrapping up series, looking for new things to watch these days. And I kind of got a little bit of a question for you as to, you love Modern Family, and yet you didn't really push me to watch it. I'm like the last person maybe on earth that hasn't watched this show, and I just started it, and it's hilarious.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. And it's funny because it was Ms. Greenwood who said, hey, why don't you watch Modern Family? I think you'll really like it. And she said that, I think however long ago it's been on, but I won't hold back on you anymore.
No, I know you talked about it and you asked me if I've seen it, but you were never like, you have to watch this. What are you doing? Right. And I thought we were friends. Anyway.
I believe in freedom of choice.
So yeah, we did a little bit of that in the evenings, and McKinley is getting, we go to the park and we hand sanitize before and we hand sanitize after, and if there's other kids, we usually don't stay very long, but she has to get to the park. And so we've been on structures, and then she has a 2-minute warning, and I tell her, okay, you can do every slide one more time, and it should take 3 seconds. Like, there's 4 slides. she has learned to take the longest possible path to get to each slide, or like the last 2 minutes take 15 now. And so she's, again, I think this is a theme. She was outsmarting me in episode 1. She's still outsmarting me in episode 9.
Yeah.
82 days in. I'm gonna figure it out sooner or later. We're happy to be joined now by BH Learning Coach Megan Muchmore. Welcome to What Makes You Say That. Megan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's great to be here.
Hey, you're talking now, it's just a little bit rainy where you are. Surviving the rain though?
Surviving the rain, and it's good for our trees, so it means I don't have to go water the lawn, which now I have some found time thanks to Mother Nature.
Exactly. So you've been working a lot with junior school. Can you tell us a little bit about how math learning and learning in general has been going in junior school since we've shifted to remote learning?
Well, it's been fabulous, actually. You know, who knew that 10 weeks ago we'd be where we are, and that it would last as long as it has, and looks like it's going to last even longer. Everyone in junior school has done such a great job of pivoting and stepping up for what needs to happen to keep the learning ongoing. Both students and faculty have adapted and adapted brilliantly. So there's been, you know, math was a focus. Junior school kind of shifted and stuck with the core subjects of English language arts, math, and inquiry projects as part of the PYP program. And then the specialists took a day every Wednesday and gave offerings to the students. You know, the math, it's a subject in early years for sure that requires the use of manipulatives, and not everyone has lovely manipulatives at home. So everyone's been really creative about using pennies, because there's lots of those hanging around people's basements, and paper clips to count, and dolls. And, you know, we've seen patterning with Lego and patterning with dolls, you know, 3 boy dolls and then a girl doll, or, you know, 3 puppies and then a unicorn. And everyone's been really creative. And I think the girls are actually enjoying that.
I have to tell you that my driveway conversations with people who have children in early years, they're like, I don't know how to teach fractions. How do you teach fractions? And you bring up the point of manipulatives, and I just kind of smile and say, I drew a lot of pizzas.
So it's been good. I mean, one thing that teachers, there's been a lot of access to some virtual manipulative sites. You know, one of the things that we've seen that's been helpful, I think, for all teachers is many different publishing companies and tech companies have offered a lot of freeware during this time that people are taking advantage of. And I think it's also helped people that, you know, someday I want to get around to exploring that. Well, the day came, and it came all of a sudden. And you know, kudos to the faculty who just stepped up and said, I need to learn how to use this to make the learning happen for my kids. And I've had conversations with a lot of teachers who said, you know, no matter what school looks like in the future, I'm going to continue to use this tool even when I have kids back in the classroom, because it's a good tool. So, which
I guess kind of answers my next question, and that would be, how has the learning evolved even since we began remote learning, and why do you think it's continued to shift? Well,
I think people are starting to get used to it. So once you get over the panic of, oh my goodness, like we can't see each other face to face anymore, and everyone is figuring out that they have to mute their mics when they're not talking in the conversation. Now people are figuring out there's some things that remote learning allows our kids to excel at that maybe the classroom environment doesn't. So they can find a quiet place, which is harder to do in the classroom. They can record themselves reading a book and share that with the teacher. And then the teacher has a nice recording that if they want to, they can do a running record, but they can actually hear the child reading the book. And it's just a way that it's opened up some opportunities that may not always be available in the craziness of the classroom.
Well, it sounds like there's been a lot of work going in, both of our students and the faculty in junior school. Can you tell us a little bit about how the work of our amazing junior school students, how is it being showcased right now? We still like to share their work, right?
Well, there's lots of different ways it's being showcased, and actually just coming up, we've got the grade 5's exhibition, which is a big part of their exiting of grade 5. And normally that is a big event in the school where kids and families celebrate. And this year they've had to do more individually based projects, but they use technology to create books about their projects to educate the rest of junior school. So just yesterday, actually, the teachers sent out a link to every one of the books that the girls have created on their different topics, from ocean plastics, etc., to COVID, and they can be shared either via Zoom or with families. The link, I believe, is also going home to families.
I was going to ask, I was like, did anybody do anything on plagues or pandemics?
Yeah, there's a couple of projects on how COVID has affected small businesses and how people have responded to self-isolation. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Grade 1s did a whole bunch of exploration on their families, and which is a big part of learning all about me and my family and my community in grade 1. And they used Adobe Spark, and all the kids figured out how to use it with the help of the teachers, and they created lovely videos of their family and interests that they do together. And then something that I started week 1, which I didn't really realize I'd be doing it 10 weeks later, but when we left school, junior school is such a small space, and everyone sees each other and knows what's going on in each other's classroom, and they meet in the workroom and they meet in the staff room and they share ideas, and that was taken away, that ability to celebrate. There's no bulletin boards, with kids' work up. So I started Sway and created showcasing every grade and the specialist work, and just picked a smattering of things that caught my eye every week and sent it out to the teachers as a way to lift their spirits and maintain collegiality and community. And it's been a hit. So now teachers are sending me things and saying, can you put this in this way? And so it's been a nice way to celebrate the learning.
Yeah, that sounds great. The school is always full of student work, and it's really a lot harder now not being there. So I think this way is a great idea. And I think junior school work and even middle school stuff has been on the school's Instagram account as well. So it's always nice to see what's going on. And we try to bring people in a little bit too in our episodes, but the visual aspect certainly would be nice to look at. Do you have any advice for parents maybe moving into summer on how to allow the students to relax and enjoy summer, but still keep a little bit of that learning moving forward?
Well, I think, there's always an opportunity to have a conversation about learning, and it's more about reflecting on what you've learned. One thing I always talk about is the difference between learning something and doing something. And we do things to help us learn. So if you're playing hopscotch or you're out when you're walking down the road, you can count trees, you can walk backwards and count things. There's always things to count, things to notice, pattern. But I think everyone can relax. Everyone needs a break. If we put our engaging activities in front of our kids, they'll learn. When we welcome them back to school in the fall, everyone's going to be in the same place. And we just take them where they are and move them forward in a way that makes sense. And, our parent hub, the remote hub, has lots of great activities. We're going to keep adding to it with summer opportunities and offerings. So take a peek there and find something that interests you and do something as a family. Play together. That's what's important.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. Thank you for that. Last question. We often ask this question to the guests, especially someone who works within the school. And you've heard what we miss, and I assume it's going to be similar. But what do you miss most about the fact that we haven't been at the school very much, if at all? So what do you miss most about BH right now?
Well, the obvious answer is people, because, a school is people, and it doesn't matter whether you're in the walls or outside of the walls. It's people that make a school. And I was in the building the other day, and it was way too quiet. There was no white noise, no laughter. But I think as a teacher, the thing I miss is the aha moments, when you witness someone clicking, or making a connection, oh, now I see. So that's what that means. And you don't witness that when cameras are off. You don't witness that when someone's handing in an assignment, 2 days later. That's a big piece of face-to-face that teachers rely on too, because it feeds them to know where to go next, whether they should zig or zag in their lesson. And it's the aha moments that are such a joy in teaching.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. My dad used to say to me that teaching is the wolf's existence, periods of feast and periods of famine. And you make a great point there about those aha moments. For sure, they fuel us, right? They give us the impetus to keep going. And anyway, yeah, nicely said, Megan.
Yeah, I remember last year I was teaching when I was teaching grade 7, and I can't remember exactly what the lesson was, but I made a connection, and one of the girls in the class, put her hands up by her ears and, went kapow, oh, I totally get it. And that's, that zeroes into like, we made a connection. It's marvelous when that happens.
Yeah, it comes back to something we mentioned almost every episode about reading the room and how much we miss that. And that's, part of a teacher's job. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today about the learning that's going on in junior school. And thank you for the support that you provided in junior school and all over the school during this very uncertain time. So we appreciate it greatly. And we hope that summer is restful for you as well.
Yeah, always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
It's that time again. We took 1 week off, but we're back with BH Staff Trivia. Now, we've actually been doing pretty well recently, unlike our performance in Roast the Host. So are you ready for clue number 1?
Well, I have to say that every time we're on a full employee meeting, that I do kind of scan the participants so that I can keep familiar with the names on the list. So I think as time goes on, this is becoming more and more challenging.
Well, I think today, I like your chances today. I really do. Here is clue number 1.
Okay.
This BH staff member has honor degrees in both English and drama.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I guess I'm lucky to have my position.
Clue number 2. This BH staff member's dog has almost 2,900 more followers on Instagram than they do.
Wow. Well, I don't have a phone, so that clue does nothing for me.
All right. Clue number 3. This BH staff member is an avid video gamer. They once won a sew-on patch from Activision for beating an Atari 2600 game.
Wow. Gamer.
Honors degrees, not very many followers on Instagram as compared to their dog.
But they have a dog.
Video gamer.
And a video gamer. That's cool.
Bonus clue, this staff member's fiction was in 2 books available at McNally Robinson.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You got me. Totally stumped.
Producer Chris, do you have an answer? Do you know?
I do have an answer.
Who is
All
it?
right. Bail me out.
It's me.
Good for you.
It's
Producer Chris.
Producer Chris.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Chris Allenot. That was great clues. That's a tough one. I thought you might go that way. The other person I seriously considered here, John, I considered giving you questions about yourself today. Anyways, that was fun. We're pleased to be joined now by BH Parent and BH Parent Association member Carrie Lai. How are you doing today, Carrie?
Wonderful. How are you guys doing?
Not so bad. It's a little cloudy, but we'll make our way. Again, thanks for taking the time to talk a little bit about both kind of the remote learning experience in your house, but also what's happening in the BHPA. So I guess the first question is, how has remote learning been going in your house with your 2 daughters?
It's, I think I echo not only just as a parent of the BH community, but I think as Canadians and everyone, we're adapting. It's, we've never done this before. So as imagined at the beginning, there are some trials and tribulations, but however, we're getting over it, and it's getting smoother and smoother by the day.
I got to say that my 10-year-old learned how to build a deck. There are lots of hidden talents, I think.
I definitely agree with you. There are some hidden talents of vacuuming and also learning how to do laundry. It's just almost based to like shop classes all over again.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So other than kind of the laundry lessons and things, what has surprised you about what you've seen from Ellie and Jolie since we started remote learning?
I was really worried as a parent that they wouldn't be able to adjust, especially at their age of turning 7 and turning 9. They may not be able to adjust from one day going to a classroom full of their friends and then all of a sudden everything becomes virtual. But I was most surprised how adaptive they are and how willing they are to just embrace the new normal.
And has there been anything specific? I know that the learning experience there's probably, well, they're happening all the time, so there's probably a lot to choose from. Anything specific stand out that just was memorable, or you heard a lot of laughing? Any activity stand out for either one of the girls?
I think Jolie being in grade 1 and having to coordinate 18 different classmates on a Zoom call, it gives me a newfound respect for teachers around the world, how they could get everyone's attention at the same time and not just simply muting their microphone or anything. So that's one. But I guess number 2 is just I was amazed by Ellie. She had to do a PowerPoint presentation for the first time. And I was impressed, amazed, and very memorable for her to deliver with conviction and with confidence virtually. I think it's something that is a skill set that I may have not have given the opportunity to teach her or get her to develop if it wasn't for this online learning, and especially with this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. And do you think that I'm not sure if you've asked the girls, but do you think that they're still kind of enjoying school or their classes as much? Obviously, I'm sure they're missing their classmates, but what was the response been from them specifically?
I think they are missing a lot of the interactions, social interactions with their classmates. They really look forward to having the Zoom play dates or just, going on Kids Messenger to chat with their friends. But overall, they're adapting quite well and they understand, to my surprise, and they haven't complained that much about this whole virtual classroom. So they've been good. I've asked them how they're doing. They've enjoyed it. They may complain about maybe the workload just because mom and dad are maybe a little bit more different teachers in a sense of just keep on adding on versus the professional teachers that's at Balmoral Hall. But I think they're adapting and still enjoying it.
Yeah, that's been a common theme we've heard about the socialization and just missing out on that. And I will piggyback on the claim there because my son is not impressed with all the extra work that mom and dad get him to do after he's done his schoolwork.
As extra credit, right? So switching gears just a little, Carrie, how has the BHPA stayed connected during these last few months?
We've been adopting a lot of virtual meetings. I think everyone has become quite the expert of Zoom conferencing or Microsoft Teams. But with the PA, we've done a lot of emails, a lot of communication. Many of our executives have reached out to fellow parents by just telephone or text messages. So there is really that sense of community, staying in contact, staying connected. We've actually, for the very first time in our history, have done a virtual annual general meeting just a few weeks ago. So that was, again, a very new platform. It probably had some hiccups and we've had a lot of opportunities that we can learn, but like many things, we're adopting to the new normal.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone, Zoom and Teams, everyone's going to be experts. I don't know if there's actually going to be in-person meetings anymore, even when we're allowed to.
We should do a survey and see which one people prefer. Are you a Zoomer or a Teamer?
Oh, yeah. So is there any message that you might have for all BH parents, maybe about the direction for the BHPA? Or obviously next year, there's still many things to be determined, but I'm sure the BHPA has some plans for next year.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been very, very successful, even with the new pandemic. Layout and landscape, we've been able to recruit a lot of volunteer parents to stay involved, to stay engaged. So we're still planning events such as the barbecue. We just don't know when it's going to happen, but we are ready, planning for events to show our appreciation to staff at Balmoral Hall. But most importantly, we're still looking for creative ways to engage the families and the parents so that they feel that even though we may not be able to see each other in person, we're planning events so that we're able to stay connected virtually.
Yeah, and I think we've been talking about this all along on this show, is about the how amazing our community is, and so we certainly appreciate the efforts of the BHPA in keeping everyone connected. So thank you again for your time today, but thank you for your time all the time you spent with the BHPA and everyone else. So hopefully you have a great summer and stay safe, and say hi to the girls for us. But it should be we're excited for 2021 to begin.
Yeah. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, guys. Stay well, stay safe, stay healthy.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Roast the host.
It's that time again for our top-rated segment, Roast the Host, where we test each other on things we believe the other person should know. John currently leads 3-1. I still have a point pending, and as NHL move to phase 2 of their restart, my 3-2 point is getting closer and closer every single day. Roast the Host, John, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I know in the list of things that we kind of gave ourselves to talk about, I know you're a Bomber season ticket holder. I know that they would be in preseason at this point, probably just about to kick off the regular season, and I know that's got to be a little bit of a stinger. So in an attempt to make you feel better about the Blue Bombers, I'm going to give you a question about the Blue Bombers. All right?
Oh, just when I avoided disappointing my dad.
So,
one question. Okay.
Here it is. Who holds the record for most passing yards in a career for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
Oh, I wish you said game. Can you switch it to game? Or tell me if it's the same person?
When I was looking it up, I don't think it was the same person, actually.
All right, so here's my Bomber knowledge. Matt Dunnigan threw for over, I believe, 700 yards in one game. So I don't know I think that should count, but if it doesn't, as a Bomber, career passing yards as a Blue Bomber.
As a Bomber, yeah. He holds the record. No one who has worn the blue and gold has thrown more passing yards than he did.
I want to say Tom Clements.
Good guess. A little bit later. This guy was just before Tommy. He played against Tom when he was a Hamilton Tiger Cat. Number 5, the Alabama Brock Bullet, Dieter Brock.
Dieter Brock
is the record holder.
Yes, good question. Well, I think, okay. Yeah, all right. The Bombers. Go Bombers. Go Blue.
Yeah, go Blue, yeah.
All right, that's a big X for me. All right. I also have a Blue Bombers. No, I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to
Dieter Brock.
Going back to literature.
Uh-oh. That's a lot of possible questions.
So
Chris,
vast.
get ready, Chris.
It's so vast. There were 3 Bronte sisters, each of them poets and novelists. What were their first names?
Thing 1, Thing 2, and Charlotte.
Charlotte is correct.
Emily
is correct.
Emily, Charlotte, and I don't know. Who would it be?
Her name is Anne.
Anne. Okay.
And you know what? The question.
But I had to come up with 3.
The question actually also included which novel they wrote. But I was going to give you the point if you can name the 3. So Emily wrote Wuthering Heights. Anne wrote The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, and Charlotte, of course, wrote Jane Eyre. So we continue to be stuck at 3-1, and maybe 3-2. We should really ask an easier question. We're pleased to be joined now by BH Debate and Public Speaking Prefect Lindsay Cogan. How are you doing today, Lindsay?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. The Junior National Debate Championships, they just took place virtually on May 29th. Which BH students participated, and tell us a little bit about how it went?
So the BH students that participated were Lily and Katya from grade 9, and it went super well. They placed 18th as a team, which is incredibly impressive, and I'm super proud of them for their effort in working hard to get their speeches prepped and coming to practices virtually because it's a lot more difficult.
Well, that's great. Was it a fairly large event? Obviously, if it was a national tournament?
So Ms. Belcon said that there were about 49 teams, which is smaller than a typical nationals would be, but still a fair-sized tournament.
So as the debate and public speaking prefect, you would have been involved in many of the events this year. Can you give us some highlights from the year that was in debate and public speaking this year at BH?
I think this is one of the best years BH has had in public speaking and debate in a really long time. I'm super happy that I got to be prefect this year for it. Starting off in October, we had a great internationals this year in Boston. I ended up placing 3rd in qualifying for Worlds. And also with the junior team, we had some really exciting placements at Junior Douglas Campbell, which is their junior public speaking provincials. And then Katya and Josie ended up going to virtual public speaking nationals for that. And I'm really proud of how they did there. Josie ended up coming 9th overall, and Katya ended up coming 15 in interpretive reading. And then we also have competitors like Esmara and Janet, who even though they didn't have virtual tournaments to go to, they still kept showing up to virtual practices. And I'm really proud of the effort that they've been showing.
Lindsay, could you tell us a little bit about what you see being the big difference between doing debates virtually and doing debates live? Can you talk a little bit about how that transition happens and what are some of the challenges for debaters?
Sure. I personally think my favorite part of debate tournaments is hanging out with other debaters. So when you make it virtually and you have kids who like to talk a lot and talk to each other about politics and whatever's happening in the news, and all of a sudden you only have them in debate rounds, it creates a very different environment. There have been some technical difficulties and a learning curve with learning how to get people into their rooms and how prep time is going to work because you're not sitting beside your debate partner anymore. And so that's different. I know for junior public speaking nationals this year, they had kids pre-record their speeches and then send them in, which meant that they could record it more than once if they didn't do well the first time, which also creates, a different type of competition.
I think that's a really interesting point, and I'm curious as to whether the socialization leads to a more friendly competitive atmosphere, or just going into the room and debating just amps up the competition level. What have you found there?
My personal experience is that people are pretty friendly. There's actually, I think, a bigger difference between public speaking and debating than a virtual or in-person nature, because what I found is when you go to a debate tournament, because you're directly pitted against people, there tends to be a more aggressive environment as opposed to public speaking where everybody's kind of doing their own thing. So there's a lot more of a friendly environment there.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense in terms of the competitor aspect and the team stuff. You mentioned that you were able to qualify for Worlds. So congratulations again. What a fantastic accomplishment. We're really proud of you. Tell us what it meant to you to achieve it must have been one of your biggest goals in debate. And then tell us a little bit also about the fact that it happened to be canceled because of the pandemic.
Thank you for your congratulations. Qualifying for Worlds has been something that I wanted to do for a very long time because obviously speech and debate is something I'm very passionate about. And then you go to tournaments and the kids who qualify for Worlds are like the cool people at tournaments. Like that's how you get clout in debate, is by doing well at tournaments. And so I was super proud of myself for being able to qualify last year. Typically, Worlds is hosted somewhere cool. Last year, it was in Toronto, still a cool city, but not the same as Lithuania or South Africa or wherever it could have been. And so for me, this year, it was going to be like a victory lap, like a goodbye to public speaking. And it was also really special because the kids who have qualified, we've grown up together on the circuit. I've known them all for years. And so it was really special to qualify with some of my best friends. And the way the tournament is run is a super chill tournament because there's nothing else you can qualify for. And it was originally supposed to be in Shanghai. That was canceled in January. And then I was supposed to be headed to Australia the day of convocation in the afternoon. None of that's happening. It's taken a lot of time to come to terms with that.
Yeah, I bet.
But now I have, and I want to look back on the experiences that I did have in debate and remember those as opposed to what got canceled and what I didn't have.
Yeah, very well said. I really like the metaphor. I know Mr. Kerr, I know John will be happy with it, with the victory lap. Well, I think that was a really good way to put it, and let this be your victory lap if that's what you need. But this is, we're certainly proud of your accomplishments in order to qualify for Worlds. That's something that I know you'll remember forever.
Thank you.
As outgoing public speaking and debate prefect, here's one last opportunity for you to recruit some young debaters. Tell us why debate and public speaking has been such an important part of your life over the past several years, and maybe you can convince a few of the listeners to sign up and to go find Miss Balcon.
Awesome. Thank you for, letting me spread my debate propaganda. So I've been doing debate for the past 6 years, which is the longest I've ever done anything in my life. And I think it's really changed not only my outlook on, current events as debate does, but it's also enhanced my reading skills, my writing skills, obviously my communication skills, but overall my confidence. I used to be super, super shy, but when you go to debate tournaments and the only person there is your debate partner, you're really forced to go outside of your comfort zone and meet other people from different walks of life with different experiences, but at the same time who are passionate about the exact same things you are. And so it's a really fulfilling experience to go to a debate tournament. And even if you don't win, I always joke that debaters are adrenaline junkies because the adrenaline you get when you give a speech, and then even if you do well, is really like nothing else.
Absolutely. Well, that's great advice. A nice plug. And again, congratulations for everything you've accomplished in debate here at Balmoral Hall. And both you and Ms. Balcon deserve a lot of credit for growing the program. And we look forward to what the future holds for you and the debate program here at BH. Thanks again for joining us, Lindsay.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
This week on social media, we posted another check-in with the BH community question where we asked the listeners a question that we asked, similar to the ones we ask in class. John, do you have this week's question?
Well, seeing as how you weren't happy with me not telling you about Modern Family, maybe we could ask people for some recommended viewing or listening, movies, TV shows, great albums. How are you going to fill that space in the summer? Let us know.
Summer recommendations. That sounds great. There are 3 ways you can answer this week's check-in question. You can email the response to bhpodcast@balmoralhall.ca. You can post a video reply to the question using Flipgrid by following the link in the show notes. And you can also answer the question directly in Instagram. So please connect with us, and we may share your thoughts on next week's episode. As we end episode 9, we'd like to thank our guests for taking the time to chat with us this week. Thank you to BH Debate and Public Speaking Prefect Lindsay Cogan for sharing some updates about the debate events still happening at this time of the year at BH. We want to thank Megan Muchmore for giving us a closer look at the learning happening in junior school. Thank you as well to incoming BHPA Vice President Carrie Lai for taking the time to join us on the podcast today. And a shout out, as always, to Mr. John Kerr for his insight, the laughs, and the company.
Nice to be here. Bye, folks.
And finally, a big thanks to producer Chris in the booth for always taking care of us and for helping me stump John today.
Yeah, he didn't help me.
We'll be back next week with episode 10, our season finale, where we'll end the school year exactly how school years always end, with graduation. We'll be speaking to BH Executive Director Tina Alto about the year that was and the year that will be. We'll catch up with a couple 2020 graduates. We'll even connect with a graduating boarding student to hear what it's like to be graduating from BH from the other side of the world. That and more metaphors, stories, and fun. Thank you so much for listening every week. Until next time, friends.
2.
What makes you say that?
What Makes You Say That is a Balmoral Hall School production, all rights reserved.